that can back you up and help the insurance industry make money. That's the only way they're going to back you up. So it's basically being proactive in basically comprehending and incorporating risk modeling into your DNA from the start.
100%, yes. And with some more of the more ambitious programs, there's a lot of uncertainty. You've got to build that in, and risk management is a great tool.
I would also add that you start by understanding what your customer are concerned about, the issues, the risks, right? And when we say that we have the first generation advanced conductor that had all of those problems, then TS was able to get embraced by the lineman, by the utility in a very short time, because we really took the time and understood the issues, the risks, and the challenges, and how those risks are going to be managed, because the utility expect us to understand their problem, and we have to give them credible answers how we effectively manage that risk for them, right? Another aspect that I think oftentimes it does raise in terms of new technology, like renewable projects, they have to be banked. And the bankability of a new technology is a big deal. So you have to basically spend $100,000 with a third-party consultant to get a report in place so that the bank can take your technology as bankable, so that when they finance a renewable development project, if your solution is part of the implementation, they can finance it. Otherwise, they will not. I mean, yeah, that's our industry.
There's a question in the very back of the room.
Yeah, hi. My name is Caballero. I'm with Southern California Edison. And we just stood up a $1.2 billion energy storage system across Southern California. We're at the tail end of it right now. My question is for Peter and Neil. This is part of our, forward-looking strategy for electrification. We can't do it without storage. Over the next 10 to 15 years, where do you see that landscape in terms of technology moving? Is it going to leapfrog? Is it going to just kind of slowly improve? What does the landscape look like?
I mean, it's a great question, and I'd like to throw it back to you, but it might be hard to have a conversation like this. But it was within the last couple of months, in the evenings, a sizable chunk of the demand is met through storage. I don't know if it is 10, 20% during some periods, but it's quite sizable. And that's happened really in just the last 2 years. That supply, and to me, that's something. You're asking like where it goes. It's like you can go at you can follow the learning curves of lithium-ion and some of those some other battery technologies, or you can try something very novel. And I think there's opportunities in both. But I think if you're going to try to be at grid scale storage and competing against lithium-ion, it's like trying to catch a knife. That's going to be really, really tough. That said, like we've made investments in other technologies around storage, and I think there could be opportunities there, but you just gotta recognize that lithium-ion costs could come down much faster than we expect, and if you think that like the production of lithium-ion batteries in China far outstrips their ability to consume that domestically, those are all going to be flowing out into the world. So we have an opportunity for very low cost. Very low cost competitor, I think would be tough.
I can just build on that a little bit and say the number that sticks in my mind in terms of the growth of batteries is that we went from basically no batteries on the California grid to the capacity of batteries that are on the grid right now is roughly a third of our energy and a third of the peak power demand that the grid sees. Now, that's all lithium-ion. It's all 4 hours worth of storage. And so that's great when you're thinking about hot summer days where we're in the middle of a heat wave and we're able to generate enough electricity on solar panels to fill the belly of our duck curve and slow down that crazy ramp at 5 or 6 o'clock at night when everyone's turning on their air conditioning. And that's got to compete against the fact that we're going to have more of those heat waves in the next 10 or 15 years. And conditioning, and the state of California is going to need to have air conditioning. And so, we're going to be balancing against those. But that, I think, following the lithium-ion cost curves and thinking about efficiency of lithium use, replacement of cobalt, some of the other things that are maybe some of the key bottlenecks to getting, really continuing to ramp up the lithium-ion battery generation, those will come, and I think we'll continue to see that growth based on that cost curve. The areas that are going to be really interesting for Edison and for other sort of grid maintenance comes back to how we can start to use long duration storage to fill in as more of a base load source. And there's a lot of challenges there in terms of economics when you're thinking about big battery systems that you're not cycling over the course of 4 hours. You have to make them super cheap in order to be able to get that cost to pay off. But it may still be that through the right development of those technologies, you're finding solar plus long duration storage, or solar and wind plus long duration storage, starting to rival some of the baseload power sources that right now I think are the only way to do carbon-free baseload, which is nuclear, geothermal, space solar.
Question to that gentleman standing over by the.
Bill, Curtis Rogers, I'm with Brick and Mortar Ventures, a venture capital firm for construction technology, and R3 Sustainability, we're a developer of water infrastructure and financier of water and energy assets. My question is to Jason and Omar. My question is to Jason, your wire technology, how does it compare cost-wise to traditional? And could it be used for underground power transmission through the wide area for spinning out a robotic earthworm from GE and DARPA that'll speed up the cost of underground construction?
Yeah, that's a great question. On a per foot basis, oftentimes people say first cost, we're more expensive. We're today about 2 to 3x. We want to drive that to 2x or below. But on a project cost basis, it's actually lower than all the traditional alternatives, whether you do new lines or reconductoring. That's why we can position ourselves as a mainstream option to substitute for the century-old technology. In terms of undergrounding, there are regions that are more suitable for undergrounding, especially if you are vulnerable to extreme weather like hurricane events, for example. However, if you are in places like Japan or even California with earthquake risk, undergrounding may not be the best way to manage that risk because you have a new risk they have to address as well.
As I understand it, PG&E has a giant undergrounding campaign because of the fires.
I agree. I'm not going to make any comments on that. I know we actually have a very interesting technology. In 2021, we responded to PG&E's what they call open space challenge. We have a smart cover conductor that you can replace the bare distribution wires where it's high wildfire risk with our wire that you'd be able to do it without having to change or modify any of the existing poles, which is the cheapest, fastest way to get it done. To their credit, we were picked as one of a handful technology out of some 600 entries for a commercial pilot. But then they changed their directions or strategy to undergrounding. I know there are a lot of sensitivity in the California legislation in terms of cost of electricity in California. That price tag from PG&E, I think is a $40 billion request. And from what I can recall, it did not go well in the initial hearings. And somebody has to shoulder that cost, right? We already have probably one of the highest electricity price in the country here. So that affordability question is important.
Can you fabricate your wire in the field, or does it all have to be prefabricated?
We normally do the fabrications, and they basically put them in spool, like a conductor reel, you truck it to anywhere. That's typically how the industry has done it. That part of the transportation is really manageable.
I'm going to take the last question from the gentleman right here.
I was going to ask a question about high fire being here more utilities have, and that's a pain point that needs to be solved. But since that just got answered, another question, I've always had this question in this room of 1 billion people, it may be a stupid question, but high energy microwaves from outer space. I have a microwave I cook with it. How do you get that much energy down to the Earth without impacting the pathway?
Yeah, it's quite low density. So by design, the power levels at the edge of the rectifying antenna are actually below the indefinite microwave legislation anyway. 10 watts per square meter. It's way lower than a microwave oven. I'm afraid we're not going to get fried chicken there.
But you're moving a ton of power, so it just seems.
But they're very big systems. They're very big systems. So this is what makes it. Why you use microwaves compared to laser? It's safe because it's low density. It's mature technology and it's very efficient. So the conversion efficiencies are really high from electricity to microwave and back to electricity. And it's all weather, so you can beam through the weather. So this is, again, it comes down to system thinking. You've got to have the base load dispatchability, all weather systems, and the whole system cost comes right down. And public acceptance is an absolutely key part of this. I think we're not going to be able to have sort of laser-based systems, which a number of companies are pursuing.
All right, if we could just give our panel a big